Oh, hello. Fuck. Welcome to Box Office Addict. Today we're going to be talking about the underperformance of several movies that have been coming out the last several weeks. So, the debate continues to go on whether or not the theatrical experience is ever going to come back to the place that we saw it from around 2016 to 2019, where we had several films a year making over $1 billion at the box office. This included films like the final two Avengers films, Joker, Lion King remake, Captain Marvel, Joker, lots of movies. The Fast and the Furious franchise had a couple films make over $1 billion. So, in general, films, even though less people were going to the movie theater, the profits were through the roof. So every time a new movie comes out, it seems like every week or two, and it does sort of well, they're like, hey, look, the box office is back, theaters are back, everybody's going back to the movies when Black Widow opened $80 million. But the thing is, all of these films are dropping considerably in their second weekends and then not holding well over the following weekends. There's exceptions to this, by the way, but very few. The big franchise films, the films that are costing $150 million, $200 million across the board, have underperformed, including Black Widow, which is already having steep drops at the box office and is going to be the lowest grossing MCU film since, geez, I don't know, Ant-Man? I guess the first Ant-Man, going back to when that came out, made 519 million. Because right now it looks like Black Widow's not even going to make 200 million. Every film's struggling to make it to 200 million though. So we had two new releases this weekend. Well, Joe Bell came out, but who gives a shit about that? We had Old, the new M Night Shyamalan movie, and then Snake Eyes, which is a spinoff of the GI Joe movie franchise, which I'm assuming they made this movie to appeal to an Eastern market, is the only thing that I can guess. Also, guys, please jump in the Discord if you'd like to be involved with these conversations and these streams in the future. It's going to be a few weeks, so yeah, join the Discord. The link will be in the description. Join the conversation. So before we get to Old and Snake Eyes, I want to talk about a few things. So Quiet Place Part 2 is easily the film that's performed best during the post-pandemic, as they like to call it, simply because the film's budget was 61 million. It's going to make a little over 160 mil domestically. It should make over 300 million worldwide. I don't think it'll outgross the first one outspacing, but it's performing close enough and no doubt made a profit. So Quiet Place Part 2 is easily the most successful film when everything's considered. Now, that isn't to say that there hasn't been some other films that did okay. Let me see if I could find it here. In the Heights was an absolute disaster. Where's The Conjuring? I don't see Conjuring 3. Well, Conjuring the Devil Made Me Do It, which is an awful title. It made about 200 million worldwide and I would say has made a profit. Cruella, on the other hand, which cost $100 million, has had the best week-to-week holds, but is at 220 million worldwide. So I don't even know if it's going to make a profit. They might break even if they could make over $250 million. So those are the films that are worth like mentioning, and then there's stuff like Hitman's Wife Bodyguard, which just made 65 million. But nothing's really broke out. Like franchises like the Purge franchise, as you see, is at 58 million. Although that franchise has been around a while. Sequel to The Boss Baby is at 61 million worldwide. Escape Room has a second film that's made 24 million worldwide. The films to focus on right now are these big franchise films that have big budgets and have all been losing money. G.I. Joe, especially one member of G.I. Joe, isn't popular enough for people to care. You can't make a cinematic universe out of everything. Yeah, I don't get what the idea was with doing another G.I. Joe movie, especially like one that isn't called G.I. Joe. You know, since you don't have Channing Tatum or anyone back that became a big star from the G.I. Joe front. Wasn't The Rock in the second G.I. Joe movie? Okay, so let's get to the big movies, and then we could talk whether or not, because that's really the debate right now: is are theaters ever going to come back? We have James Gunn's Suicide Squad coming out soon, but that's going to be on HBO Max. We have Dune, and then we have James Bond: No Time to Die, and then we have Spider-Man. I was thinking about this today. There hasn't been any trailers for The Matrix 4. There hasn't been any trailers for the new Spider-Man movie. and a few other movies that are all supposed to be coming out in like 5 months. They're not even marketing movies right now. Like, I have to assume some of these are going to get pushed back, like Matrix 4. How could Matrix 4 be coming out in 5 months and there hasn't even been any like official photos? So the first one we're going to look at is Fast and the Furious 9, which is currently at $622 million, has made 164 million domestic. Now this film has a budget of over $200 million, and I'm assuming they spent over 100 million on marketing. So it's tough if this is going to break even. I would say that just because of the participation. See, the Fate of the Furious made 1.2 billion and only made 98 million net profit because Vin Diesel and everyone gets paid so much. So I'm assuming on the low end they were hoping this was going to make $800 million, just to kind of break even for them. Although you can't complain. I mean, the studio can't complain. In the pandemic, to have the 70 million opening and 622 million worldwide, and the numbers from China, I would say this is kind of a success story, with the context of everything going on. Like, hey, everyone else is having huge drops at the box office, disappointing openings, and this franchise is so popular that. Okay, sorry, I was reading something in the text. But, this franchise is so popular, it still makes 600 million despite all that. So I would say that franchise isn't the biggest disaster. Would you say that James Gunn was a good choice as director for Suicide Squad 2? Well, apparently so, according to the reviews. The film currently has 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I would say so. It's kind of weird because this all happened because he got fired from Disney and Warner Brothers got him. Now Disney hired him back, and now he has this successful film at Warner Brothers. Really makes you think. Like, where's his future going to lie? Is he just going to work with both studios, or is he going to? Because James Gunn, that was always the thing. He was this R-rated genre guy, and it was always sort of disappointing that he had to make these more family-friendly films at Disney. But if DC's just going to let him make like R-rated hardcore films, like with this film, then if I don't know. I think it suits his sensibilities. I think James Gunn is better when he gets to do that sort of thing, personally. So let's talk about a real fucking disaster, though. Space Jam 2. So if you remember, LeBron James infamously tweeted, sorry haters, or whatever haters, when Space Jam 2 opened to 31 million, which is a horrible opening weekend. $160 million budget. Who knows what they spent on marketing? I'm sure quite a bit. $31 million opening was terrible, even considering the pandemic and the HBO Max release. It should have opened better than that. Who knows about merchandising, but LeBron was tweeting about this. Everybody was trying to spin this last week into a win. 69% drop in its second weekend, 9.5 million. Will not make as much as the first Space Jam made in the 90s without inflation, which was 90 million domestically. Is going to fall below that. I would say 70, 75 million is where it's heading if it keeps dropping. And we're at 93 million worldwide. So there is no way they make profit on this movie. Even if this movie made $250 million worldwide, they still wouldn't make a decent profit off this movie. This movie would have needed to make at least $350 million, if not $400 million. So as of right now, critically, this is a disaster, but that was somewhat expected. But financially, this is a huge disaster. And I think the person that takes the biggest hit on this is LeBron James. Just that, he couldn't carry this to something bigger. He was cringy on social media about it. And now the film is an absolute disaster going into its second weekend. So I really thought that F9 would have done much better due to its fan base. Well, you have to consider, dude, every movie is going to have a considerably less box office. And also, you got to think the Fast and the Furious franchise was already on the decline. After Furious 7 was so big and made $1.5 billion, Fate of the Furious only made, I think, a little over $200 million domestically. It had a steep drop from the totals of the previous film. I mean, it still internationally was huge. It still made over like $1 billion internationally, but that franchise has actually been somewhat on the decline as of recently, but it's been around a long time. Plus, they did Hobbs and Shaw. I think that made, 760 million. So I'm not surprised. I mean, at the low end, this movie would have made 800 million to $900 million worldwide, but to make $1 billion right now just seems, it just doesn't seem possible, at least with an American film. Okay, so let's talk about Black Widow. This was another one. Had an $80 million opening, and everybody was like, oh, it's doing great. Look, the box office is back. Immediately starts having steep drops in second and third weekend. This film, without the COVID, I'm sure would have opened to like over $100 million. I mean, 80 million for a Marvel film at this point is incredibly low. But all of that, right? So film is making that kind of money. Here we are, we're this many weeks out, 55% drop, $154 million at the box office, 316 million worldwide. Now, this film isn't able to open in a lot of international places right now due to lockdowns. So we're not really getting a full sense of the box office of this, but this is a $200 million film. This was a big budget film, and there's no way they didn't spend money on marketing. And I know it's on Disney Plus with the all access thing, but still, I mean, they had to assume pre-pandemic this movie was going to make $800 million, if not $1 billion. Marvel movies, especially with a character this big, they make bank. I mean, I think in recent years, like Ant-Man 2 and Doctor Strange both made like 600 something million. I think they're in the lowest grossing, and almost every other Marvel film has made $1 billion or around that. Even the last Spider-Man film made $1 billion. And before that it made something like the first one, Homecoming, made like $800 million or something like that. They've all, obviously, and then the Avengers films, the Captain Marvel. So this is a really telling thing, because what's bigger than the MCU? I mean, you have the Fast and the Furious franchise, but if the MCU is only bringing in $300 million worldwide on a big franchise movie like this with a character this popular, even though she's dead, so this whole thing is weird how this movie came out. Makes you wonder how well Spider-Man's going to do. It really does. Makes you wonder how all of these movies are going to do. I know Suicide Squad's getting great reviews and people are excited about it, but I have this bad feeling that we're not going to see anything open. It's hard to imagine something opening at like $100 million right now, and it's really hard to believe that anything could make $800 million. I think Fast and the Furious is about what we can look at right now. It's like you can make 600 million, maybe 700 million, and nothing is doing well after opening weekend. Everything after these decent opening weekends, like $70 or $80 million, nothing is continuing to hold. I mean, I can't see any film coming out this year that's going to make $200 million. I think the closest thing would be Spider-Man. I don't think Dune's going to make that kind of money. And Matrix 4, that doesn't make any sense to make that kind of money. Yeah, I really can't. I think Spider-Man's really the only film we have, unless I'm forgetting something. I can't really think of anything except Spider-Man's the only thing I could see making more money than a lot of the other ones, just because it's Spider-Man and people might go to see that movie, even though they're not marketing it. Otherwise, I can't see anything that's going to like change this trend right now, especially since they're talking about new mask mandates and lockdown. So, mainly this is just that thing that I said a while ago, a farewell to movie theaters. And I remember a lot of people told me it'll come back. There's no argument that there'll always be a place for theaters in some capacity, that they'll exist in some realm mixed with streaming, but the current business model is never going to work. They have to change entirely. We're not going to go back to the numbers of 2016 to 2019 or anything like that. We're not going to be getting $1.5 billion movies grosses. We're not going to be seeing these $250 million opening weekends. It's just not happening. Where restaurants are thriving right now, other things are thriving right now. Essentially, I just feel like people aren't excited about a lot of these movies coming out. I think a lot of these movies they've been releasing have been bad to mediocre. I think Black Widow's very mediocre. I think Snake Eyes is bad, obviously. I think Space Jam 2 is terrible. I think Furious 9 is mediocre. I don't think there's been a movie really coming out that's had this like amazing word of mouth. Every movie essentially has had like the Tenet effect, where it's like, oh, this was supposed to bring back movie theaters, and everyone goes to see it and is really disappointed. So let's talk about the movie that I want to focus on, which is Snake Eyes, because this is just a confusing thing. Why did they make this movie? why? I know that Snake Eyes was a popular character, but like, why is this movie made? I only can assume this was made to try and get money from an Eastern audience, so they could hope that this would perform well in like Japan or Korea or something. I don't see, even without the pandemic, would this film have opened higher than, let's say, $30 million? Maybe $30 million. I mean, honestly, the 13 million isn't the worst, just considering that. But still, like, why did they make this movie? I just am so confounded about this entire thing. This was not a good idea pre-COVID. It's not a good idea to release this now. It's a stinker. I mean, from the beginning, like, does anyone know what the budget of this is? Like, if anyone tells me they spent $100 million on this movie, I'm gonna like shit my pants. The first Snake Eyes trailer came out 2 months ago. Oh my god. Rush Hour 3. This was supposed to be a reboot of G.I. Joe. Well, that didn't work. Can anyone look up the budget of Snake Eyes for me? Since it's not on here. Someone let me know what Snake Eyes cost. Wonder Woman's were staggeringly positive, though. Even Snyder Cut to a degree. Yeah, and we love Snyder Cut. So I'm pro that. This feels different, though. The reviews for Suicide Squad don't feel like the Wonder Woman um, Snyder Cut reviews. This feels like it's more like because even Wonder Woman didn't get reviews like this. I mean, this is like Wonder Woman had some critics were like that, but this is getting like some people are saying this is like top tier superhero stuff. Plus, I just have more faith in this. Snake Eyes budget was 88 million. I've heard 88 million on like websites like Deadline and stuff like that. You guys are saying 135? Holy shit. So my assumption is that they were thinking an international audience, an Eastern audience would go see this because that's very pandering and stupid. I think Mortal Kombat sort of had that too. And they probably hoped that this would make 300 or 400 million based off that. As of right now, I don't see this film making 50 million domestically. So right there, it's at a loss with the $88 million budget. Let's just say 88 million instead of 135, because if it's 135, that's a fucking disaster. Snyder Cut was all positive except Mahler. So yeah, this film is another bomb. So if we just like we go here, we have like Snake Eyes, bomb, Space Jam, bomb, Black Widow. As of right now, losing money. May turn a profit. Fast and Furious disappointment, Escape Room, Boss Baby, Forever Purge. A lot of these films aren't doing well. You see here the only films that have made over 100 million, and we're in the summer movie season, is Quiet Place 2, Fast and Furious 9, and Black Widow. I mean, we're not seeing any breakouts. Then In the Heights, a bomb. Let's see where Peter Rabbit 2 is at 100. Actually, Peter Rabbit 2 at 148 million worldwide. Can't knock that. Just a series of disappointments. So the thing I'm making this about is that there keeps being this debate every week that like, oh, the box office is back. I mean, it was a meme like a few weeks ago when like Quiet Place 2 overperformed, and then Fast and Furious 9 and all these like media outlets were like, look, it's back. Everyone's going to the movies. And now they've had to face the truth of this, and then they try to make excuses every week like, is it the Delta variant? Is it this? Is it that? Oh, it's because people weren't interested in seeing this movie. Oh, well, Black Widow got great reviews and everyone loved it, but it's dropping because of this. They just keep making excuses. Like In the Heights, they made excuses for that movie for 2 weeks because they're like, it got rave reviews and it has so much diversity and everyone's loving it. Why did it bomb? I don't understand. I don't know if the blockbuster's dead. Um, but I would think in general that the big blockbusters that like I don't see why you would produce a $200 million movie right now. I think I could see making $100 million movie right now. I think we're just gonna have to lower budgets and expect lower opening weekends. If the cap out is like 80 million or 90 million, you're gonna have to start budgeting your films for these kind of performances. You're gonna have to go back almost like 15 years where $75 million opening and like 200 mil domestic was great numbers. See, that means that the stars are going to have to get paid less, at least for theatrical releases and not streaming releases. Or you're going to have to do some kind of deal where you're going to have to make, because I think Disney's making 12 billion a year off Disney Plus. You're going to have to make a thing where you have the streaming exclusives, and then you have your like few films a year as a studio that you release theatrically that actually get a theatrical push, just to kind of share the box office between them. And theaters are going to become more of a novelty. Like there won't be a theater, like every city and town won't have a lot of theaters in it. There'll be like a couple theaters, and those will be the places everybody goes. But there won't be theaters everywhere because there won't be enough movies to fill up the theaters on a week to week basis. They're just going to have to scale down or add something to the theaters in the novelty. Maybe more of the Alamo Drafthouse setting, have the bars, have the food at affordable prices, by the way. Like actually have it where you can go eat a meal and drink for cheap and go to the theater for that, like to go out to dinner. They're probably going to have to do more of that, mixing it with a restaurant entertainment experience. Um, Unless VR really takes off in the next few years, because that's the only future I see where they could actually like have a novelty again, is having it where you go pay to sit and watch a VR movie. But then again, why wouldn't you just do that at home or something? Yeah, I would say IPs too. They're gonna have to. There's some IPs that just are gonna disappear. I don't think Marvel properties are gonna go anywhere, but like some of these IPs, like GI Joe, Space Jam, these kind of movies that only got made in this current era of the blockbuster, I don't think we're going to be seeing movies like that for a while. Yeah, but they did show old movies and classics in the theater during COVID, and like none of them did great. Like a lot of theaters and cities show old movies or art house films. Um, I think you got to do the thing where it's like a more of a like novelty. Like you come to the theater and you eat dinner, and we have a full bar, and maybe you have some other stuff there to do or other stuff to see, and you have to like mix it with other things. I think they're gonna have to, like I said, they're gonna have to change their whole business model. It can't just be let's wait for the movie theaters to come back. It's not coming back. It's gonna be too long. They're gonna be in bankruptcy or they're gonna be in debt. So the only way is to change your entire business model, or else you're just gonna get left behind, which is I think what's happening to the movie theaters. They're gonna get left behind unless they make it to where like you have to, because right now, like, why would I run out to go see any of these movies? I have no desire to rush to a theater to see any of these movies. None of them are exciting enough. But if I thought, okay, I could go see this movie and have a decent time at the theater outside of seeing the movie, which would mean like I could go, yeah, like Laser Quest with bowling, with who's like, yeah, if I could go to this place and like bowl, like you pay to enter, and part of the deal is like you pay a certain price and you get to like eat there. Maybe there's arcade games. It's like Dave and Buster's. Maybe there's a bowling alley. Maybe there's something like that. And then there's a theater. There's a few theater screens, and you get to go see like a movie in a huge theater screen. And there's deals if you go during certain times of the day and stuff like that. I could see that. I might just go to that place to hang out, and I'll go see the movie that's playing because that's how it is, as opposed to going to the theater just to see a specific movie that's playing. There's too many movies. There's been too many movies coming out for years, and that's where we're at right now. They have too many films all coming out at the same time, and it just doesn't work. As far as media, but not as a brand, new figures in demand for a couple of years now. Theaters are going to have Donda food prices soon. $50 chicken tenders, a $40 hot dog. Yeah, Kanye West is going to start living in movie theaters. I just can't. Maybe someone has an answer that I don't have. The only, like I said, the only thing I could think is do the Alamo Drafthouse thing, which a lot of theaters do have that, where they have a bar restaurant. But yeah, it's expensive as shit. Like popcorn costs nothing, and they charge you for popcorn. What's cheaper than popcorn? I can't think of anything cheaper to make the popcorn. Or you're just gonna have to make it cooler. You're gonna have to make it more interactive, like you're a member at a thing and they play the movies and you pay a monthly fee like you do a subscription service, and have more live events at the theaters, like live podcasts or like stage shows or stand-ups come there, and part of it is you have a movie theater. I really don't know. I don't know if movies have enough draw right now, the idea of the movie theater, to just get people to go there. You are back on streaming. What do you mean specifically? If am I streaming? Yes, I'm streaming. Yeah, rice and popcorn. Just serve rice and popcorn at every movie theater and we'll all be happy. By the way, fuck calling this movie Snake Eyes, all right? If it's not directed by Brian De Palma and starring Nick Cage, I don't want any movie called Snake Eyes in my local theater. Piss off. Make better movies, scale them down, have better prices, get better food, and there you go. That's the thing. I watched Princess Bride yesterday morning. I kind of want to do a video on it, even though it's so cliche. But I was just thinking, man, in 10 minutes, I already care about characters in this movie. I already care about Wesley and Montoya and all these characters. Within 10 minutes, I'm invested. By the sword fight scene, I'm totally into the movie and want to see where it goes. Like, very exciting sequence. Every line's funny. And I'm like, they used to make movies like this. Like, you used to care right away. Like, in 5 minutes, you would get a sense of, like, character and what the tone was, and it was funny while also being sincere. And I'm like, God damn, like, I take for granted so much that, like, they used to do, like, writing used to be this good. I mean, I know it's William Goldman, but I'm just thinking about dialogue in that movie. When Wesley points the sword at Humperdinck, it says, "Drop your sword." It's this powerful moment. It's just like, God, I used to care so much about characters in movies. That above everything, above spectacle, above, like, how well directed it was or anything. I just, like, gave a shit about people in the movie. They like, really made me care about them when I was watching it. Well, that's funny if Ryan Johnson's main inspiration was The Princess Bride. That's odd. Jesus Christ. I can see him doing a bad version of that with that. Wow. I didn't even know why he would think to be the guy to do that. That's not even in his milieu. Like, you kind of have to be a comedy director to pull off that. Well, it is. They are just like. I mean, it is. It is mediocre. Mediocre product is one issue. It's Snake Eyes is like evidence of this, or Space Jam 2. But it's. There's a lot of variables. People had the whole year off, so do people want to go back to the movie theaters? I don't know. The movies that are coming out aren't exciting for people, and the word of mouth clearly isn't great. And then just mix that with kind of a general detachment from properties or things that we felt in the last year or two. I mean, it's not that, like, movies are dead or, like, entertainment's dead at all. Like, I do think there'll be a world with, like, concerts and sports being back, but I do think, like, the theatrical experience has been flawed for a long time. I think it's just having to face that, which everyone's been saying, but I've been in so many outlets that are being like, theaters are back, it's exciting, things are doing well, and it's like, they can't just accept, like, look at this. We're in July and the top movie made $16 million. I mean, this isn't true, guys. Things aren't doing well. Now, to be fair here with Old, right? This movie only cost $18 million and opened to 16 million and should be able to make over 60 million to 80 million worldwide. So, oddly enough, M. Night Shyamalan will have one of the few profitable films during the pandemic. Like, that's the thing that's really funny to me. You can't hold M. Night down, even though he had that comeback with Split and then he fucked it up with Glass, but he's been smart. He's been really smart making low budget because his name still draws enough people and his high concepts, but he's not making. Where I think that affected Glass. I think Glass should have had a bigger budget. But he's been really smart ever since The Visit that he's been making like 5, 10, 15, $20 million movies. And all of his films are doing well. It's like he's just going to exist forever now because he finally was like, okay, I'm not a blockbuster director. I'll just keep making low budget movies forever and ever. So M. Night, if more directors were humble like that, Scorsese doesn't seem to not be able to make a $200 million movie right now. I love Scorsese, but Jesus Christ, his next movie is like a $200 million movie after The Irishman was a $200 million movie. But if more of these directors were willing to make like $5 to $20 million movies with high concepts within that, but they didn't have like a huge special effects budget, your movies could make $100 million and make a profit. But I don't see a lot of filmmakers doing that. I don't see a lot of these directors right now making films that don't cost at least 100. Like, is Christopher Nolan gonna make a $20 million movie? I don't think that's ever gonna happen. The trailer for Snake Eyes doesn't even look appealing. I honestly don't know why they even made it, especially in this current climate. Oh, you were joking about the Princess Bride thing. I don't know. It's just something I could see that Ryan Johnson would say that. I don't know if Michael Bay had a negative effect. I think how successful some of those movies were internationally may have had a negative effect. From Menace Plays, he's rude as hell. Who? I don't even know who that is, man. Yeah, I do think that Marvel movies was the big reason movies were doing. Well, pretty much it was Disney, man. It was the live action remakes of the animated films, and then it was the Marvel movies, and then some of their animated films and like Pixar and stuff like that. I mean, Disney was really keeping a lot of the box office. A lot wasn't it that one year that Disney had the six biggest movies outside of like Jumanji, the Rock Jumanji movie? I mean, there was really only a few things keeping theaters afloat. I feel like that was bringing in enough numbers that, and it was predominantly Disney. I mean, Disney was by far every year released a few films that all like made crazy money, and that kind of just kept people like going to the theaters. These big franchises that they had. So I don't know, without the MCU and without certain live action remakes of franchises, I don't really know. You get occasional stuff like La La Land was a hit and kind of came out of nowhere. You know, that stuff still happens sometimes. Joker did better than people thought it was going to, but it wasn't normal, that movies were making, original films were making like $500 million or something like that. I mean, it was all these big Disney franchises. Yeah, I would say a director, unless you make a deal with the streaming service, where either you get a TV show or a big movie produced there, and you're doing one of these Marvel shows or something. I would say if directors want to make films that get released theatrically, this is where the whole business model has to change. Movies are going to have to cost a bit less. They're going to have to stop spending so much on them. They're going to have to expect a lower box office, and they're going to have to release less movies and be more selective with it. Like a movie like Snake Eyes shouldn't even come out. That shouldn't even happen. That should be made for like $50 million and be on a streaming service. That shouldn't even be like a $100 million movie that gets released in theaters. Like those kind of movies cannot get made anymore. You just can't do it. I mean, I like the music from Adult Swim. That's what you're asking me. I've been wanting to do a box office addict. I was gonna do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Currently, like I want to do Please Rewind Live, and then I'm gonna do box office addicts again if I can, and then I'll probably do stuff like trailer reactions, or I just want to have more of the Discord hooked up with everyone that's going on. I might be planning to edit and make a video right here soon on Princess Bride or something. But currently I'm more like um want to do sort of just like these streams where I just like go live, and then we can communicate in the Discord, and we can talk about things going on or have discussions with people. Maybe we can do a stream on the new He-Man show here soon. Suicide Squad comes out this weekend, so we can certainly talk about that. Um, if we all want to do a review on that. So, big story here is that let's see, how long have we been going? 36 minutes. I'm glad Snake Eyes bombed. That's what the director gets for using shaky cam for action. Menace Place is a YouTuber. Oh, okay. I just don't know who that is. I've never seen their content. Do you think original Hollywood movies would be great and still be made in the 2010s? I mean, I don't think that the MCU caused that. I think the MCU was a result of them not making good original movies, so people were going to see the MCU more. I don't think it's because of them that people. Yeah, everyone join the Discord. The Discord is where we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. We do movie nights in here where we watch movies together. Sometimes we just have conversations in here that aren't recorded or go live. Just a couple weeks ago, we were all in there hanging out one night, like on a Saturday. Different debates and conversations. Some of the stuff goes on the channel. We talk about it. Other times, it's just everyone hanging out. So that's kind of what I want. I want more people hanging out in the Discord so we can connect. If you guys have video ideas, if you guys like want to talk or jump in on things, or we can have a discussion, or if you see like, hey, this new trailer came out, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, or if the yeah, it's growing very small, the channel. It's the first time I made a hurdle in a long time, or I've actually crossed a new barrier. But that's the idea. I want to be more promotion in the Discord, connected to the live streams and the YouTube. So basically, if you want to come on the YouTube chat, that's cool. But if you want to hang out in the Discord and do everything from in there and talk to me more directly, that's also totally fine. And just any kind of current news or media or things that are going on, we can talk about. Through the Discord and then connect like this, be it box office trailers, shows. Even if you guys have an opinion, if it's something I haven't seen and enough people have seen it and they want to talk about it, I will definitely hop in with you guys and talk about what's going on because I'm interested in different opinions right now. Even if you don't agree with me on something, if you want to like argue with me about it, that's fine too. I don't care. Just let's have a fun server, guys. That's all I ask. So the real story here is M. Night back, Universal, and then Paramount. Disaster after Quiet Place 2 did well. And this reminds me more of like In the Heights. And then all these films doing well. But really, a big story here is Space Jam 2 dropping so much. Space Jam 2 just being a disaster. When that really could have been successful, I think, even with the pandemic. Outside of that, there's really nothing to talk about. I mean, the real debate here is like, can any movie break this barrier that seems to exist right now where you can't open over $100 million? I mean, if Black Widow couldn't do it, and then no movie is making like, you know, legit money, especially domestically, the domestic box office is a disaster right now. Like Fast and Furious 9 got by on the international box office, but is any film going to be able to make $300 million domestically? I just don't. I don't see it, man. Your last stream you did with your friends was fun. You should do more of those. That's the plan. The plan's to do more. Can you monetize Discord in any way? I don't know. I don't think you can. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm getting deeper into Discord. But you know, I would like to do more movie nights where we watch movies together. Just build a community in there. Uh Stuff like that. Us just talking about the new stuff that's coming out because sometimes I just don't want to make videos on stuff like some show comes out or some movie and I don't want to make a video, but I'll get in Discord with you guys and we can all talk about it. And I think that could be a lot of fun. I don't know. I want to be excited for Dune, but I do like mushroom burgers, yes. But the Discord, I mean, if we're having an interesting Discord conversation or something's going on in there, it'll be streamed onto YouTube and then, you know, that's going to be the new system for things. It's all going to like come through Discord. Excluding the times that I want to make a video like the Manhunter video or I want to do the uh there's a video I kind of want to do right now. That stuff I'll spend some time editing and all that, but for the most part it's just going to be more of live streams or recording stuff out of the Discord and uploading that like I did with the revisiting series that I do with Madcap. We might just record in Discord, but we're not going to, you know, even although we might just start doing those more live where we talk about movies and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really know. It depends. It depends who wants to hop on. You know, if I can get more of Dan and Gabe MGTOW. If I can get more of my cool friends to come hang out with me on some streams and talk about stuff, that would be fine. Yeah, I don't see us seeing Dune Part 2. I think we might get like a television series, but are they going to be able to get like Timothy Chalamet and all those actors back? No. I just don't see a world. How could Dune do well right now with the pandemic? I mean, it's just, they're just kind of screwed. Even if Dune made $300 million worldwide, I mean, right now it wouldn't look good. I mean, it's just, they weren't expecting this. It was supposed to come out last year. Do you guys all remember when Dune was supposed to come out last year? Why didn't they just do Dune as a TV series, especially given Legendary's pick track record? I think that they didn't want to do like a Game of Thrones $100 million a season television show with big actors. I think they didn't want to go that way. Although I would have done Dune as a television series if it was me. Dune totally should be a TV series instead of a film franchise. And it would just be more badass, especially the first book. The first book could be like 2 seasons of a TV show. You wouldn't even have to do that all in one season. You could split it up. And by the time you get to Children of Dune, that could be like season 3. Or you could mix things around. You could take things from all the different books and kind of mix it around. It's like 165 million is the budget of Dune. Yeah, I wonder where Dune 1's going to end. Because they're obviously not going to defeat the Harkonnens at the end. Like, it looks like there's parts where Paul's starting the revolution. I don't know. I'm really curious about how Dune 1's going to wrap up. Like, is it going to have a cliffhanger ending? Or is it going to feel like its own movie? Because it's looking like from that last trailer, like a lot of the third act is going to be when the Harkonnens attack the Atreides family. But I don't know. Like, that looks like that's going to be pretty far into the movie. Oh, yeah, I've read Dune several times. Many, many times. That's the thing. If you're going to do... Yeah, Dune as a TV series just made sense because you could have at least got 5 or 6 seasons out of it. I really think it could have been like Game of Thrones, like, popular. I don't know if you would have got Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa, Oscar Isaac, Timothy Chalamet. I don't know if you'd have got these big actors, but I don't think you need those big actors either. I think you just get great actors. Nobody on Game of Thrones was really a big star. And they all became like famous when that show got big. So I don't, James Gandolfini wasn't a big star when The Sopranos started. Yeah, 160. I mean, the first Dune's a pretty good sized book, though. Isn't it like 500 pages? It's not a short book. It's pretty dense, too. But I wouldn't mind seeing that stuff expand. Also, maybe besides Dune, like Battlestar Galactica would be another thing I would take influence from, more than maybe even Game of Thrones. I think something like that show, especially the first season, could be like a Dune show. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like Boys became like the biggest thing last year, and then there's stuff like Invincible, these high concept TV shows like Stranger Things and stuff. And then if you're an actor in that show, I mean, it's like Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour and Finn Wolfhard are all like huge stars, all because of Stranger Things. So that's kind of where we're at with a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff. Sorry, I accidentally sent this photo. I'm trying to set my profile. What the heck? Is that from Suicide Squad? Naked Man? Is that RoboCop? What the fuck? That is disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting. There's nothing appealing about that whatsoever. Yeah, I've heard they still want to do a live action Invincible, and after seeing the animated series, it's like, well, isn't it too late? You did so much with this animated series that it's like all these cool scenes that are in the show. I mean, it would have been a cool movie. When I was watching it, I go, man, this would have been a badass movie. But at this point, like, a lot of people have seen the show. What benefit is there to do the movie? It would just be the same thing. Like, oh, Altered Carbon? Okay. That's an actor, though. That's a guy who played RoboCop, right? And was in Suicide Squad. It looks like him. I will say it. I really, really liked the new Ghostbusters trailer. I wanted to do a reaction to it. I was honestly surprised. It gave me like Spielberg vibes. That could just be marketing, but from the first trailer, where I was like, I don't know what Reitman's doing with this. And then some of the other stuff I saw, I was kind of like, I don't really get what the tone is. But the tone of that trailer, if that's the tone of that movie, Like from what that trailer was, I was very surprised. Like it had that Ghostbusters vibe just with like the special effects and the way the horror scenes, like when Paul Rudd runs out of the Walmart and the thing's chasing him. I love the feel of that stuff. That looks good. I liked the things with the kids. I know it was Stranger Things. I know it was It. I know it was Super 8. I know it was all those movies, but like it had a nice vibe. I like how the special effects looked. I like, Ray answering the phone at the end were closed. I mean, it was a Force Awakens sort of thing. It did remind me of the Force Awakens trailer where it was very nostalgia heavy, but like good trailer. They did a really good job on that trailer. I don't know how the movie's going to be, but if the movie is even close to like how like emotional and like exciting and like I don't know, just sort of like the tone and the vibe of that trailer was very exciting. And like it did have this nice like 80s vibe to it. Uh I think they are downplaying the comedy in Ghostbusters Afterlife trailers too because their attempt at comedy Fembusters was an embarrassing disaster. Yeah, they are playing down the comedy. But the thing was the first Ghostbusters, like it was a comedy, but like Dan Aykroyd played it very straight. So did Harold Ramis. Like they were funny, but they were serious in their performances and those characters. And there was a lot of scenes that are like legitimately just like good set pieces, nice blockbuster moments, and it's got a good story. Like I think a good Ghostbusters movie doesn't need to be like a straight comedy like what Paul Feig was trying to do, where everyone's acting goofy or trying to be funny. I think a lot of people just need to play their characters and then let someone else be funny. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I love the Paul Rudd casting. I wanted Paul Rudd in the Ghostbusters reboot when they were doing the Fembusters. I remember at the time I kept saying like Paul Rudd should be like in this movie. Now that he's in it, it's like great. Paul Rudd can do anything. I'm just at that point where Paul Rudd's like good in anything he does. But yeah, that was the best trailer I've seen in a while. I think it really sold the movie in a big way. It sold me on the two kid leads. It sold me on the look of the movie. Jason Reitman hasn't made a movie I've liked in a long time, but he's also never made a big budget blockbuster kind of film like this in his whole career. I mean, he's always kind of made these modest movies. Even his big successful movies like Up in the Air and Juno were very modest movies. So maybe it's that thing where Jason Reitman, coming back and then and then having like a big budget and everything and the right cast, and Dan Aykroyd being involved with it. Um, maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be another Force Awakens. I don't know. I don't. I don't think a David Lynch Dune series would be a good idea. I don't think it would work. Yeah, the Akira live action remake's gonna be in production hell forever. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. You could make it, you would just have to change so much. You basically couldn't do Akira. You'd have to cut down a lot of the scale. You could make a movie about a biker gang in a post-apocalyptic world, and one of them gets telekinesis, and keep it at a lower budget. And he goes on like a killing rampage, and his friends have to stop him, and the government's. You could make that movie, but you can't do it on the scale of Akira, or go crazy like they do in Akira. You could make a like City of God kind of movie, meets Blade Runner with gangs and like Mad Max gangs, but they're in like a science fiction universe. You could make a movie like that, but you would have to scale everything down. I mean, I would think much more like the Mad Max movies or City of God is where I would go. I would try to keep it like that. Like you could have a lot of violence, a lot of messed up scenes, and stuff like that, but I can't see you having like the stadium sequence in an Akira movie live action. That would just, I mean, it'd be like that's the thing, it'd be like a $250 million movie to pull it off. And I mean, that's, you would just have to, you'd have to go completely different direction with it. There's no way it would work. Altered Carbon. Yeah, I have a crush on him. I'm worried about Ghostbusters. I hope it's not woke. I didn't see anything in there that kind of made it look woke. I think Aykroyd Ramis had a lot to do with Ghostbusters success. Well, yes, of course they did. I'm guessing they had a lot of input within a different cast. I think it would be so successful. Oh, I greatly. Well, just there was things that were exciting in the show that I just kind of bought. I liked the The Ecto one with the kid. I like that they have the trap on wheels, like it's a remote control version. I actually think that's really clever, and it kind of worked for me. I liked how small scale everything was. It was like it really felt like a sequel in the right way. Like they find the equipment, and these kids are smart and figure out a way to use it, and they do some new things with it. But it still kind of had this like low scale feeling. It didn't feel too crazy. Like there's gonna be this big, like the big final fight at the new one, or like what they were doing. Like they, and it also didn't feel so much like the original movie. Like it's a different location. It's a small town for most of it. Um, a different kind of dynamic between the characters. I think they were doing enough things differently while keeping some of the aesthetics. It just looks like a town invasion movie. Like this town's gonna get invaded by a bunch of ghosts, and then obviously, like Ray, probably Dan Aykroyd's gonna have to come into the town to help them stop the ghosts at the end when it gets out of control. But I really I like the whole thing. I like it. Kind of had a Scooby Doo vibe to it. I dug it. I dug the whole thing. Yeah, but Ramis was also behind Groundhog Day. He directed Caddyshack. He directed Vacation. I mean, classic Harold Ramis is phenomenal. He was in Stripes. He wrote on Stripes. He wrote on Animal House. I think COVID has exposed the weight of Hollywood's hubris. It wasn't Altered Carbon like this big hype thing. It reminds me of that show the Wachowskis did, Sense8 or whatever, the one that cost like 150 million on Netflix, and it was just like did not deliver. There's been a lot of these shows recently. I am worried the new Ghostbusters will have this like 80s nostalgia. I didn't get that from the trailer though. I mean, it had 80s vibes, but it didn't feel like it was going for this 80s thing. But I wouldn't shock me if that's what they're doing. It wouldn't shock me if they're like, because Stranger Things came out like after the Ghostbusters reboot. It wouldn't shock me if they were like, we need to do Stranger Things with Ghostbusters. We need to do Force Awakens. But honestly, if Dan Aykroyd shows up in that movie as Ray, and he's acting like that character, and he's in the Ghostbusters outfit, and they're fighting, I mean, I want to see that movie. I don't care if they're old. I mean, that's what a lot of us wanted. We wanted like Peter Venkman in the back. I don't care if they're old. I think it makes it funnier that they're old and out of shape. It was never They were never badasses. That was never the point. That's what made Ghostbusters, and that's part of the appeal, is that they're just like these dudes that save the world. They're not badasses. They're not superheroes. Like they're like exterminators who have to end up saving the world. So I don't care if they're old and fat. I'm all for it. I'm all for Dan Aykroyd's crazy ass going in there and saying like Ray lines and talking about ghost stuff. I love that shit. I'd be so happy. The kids do seem a little bit like badasses though, in the other direction. It seems like they're gonna make the Velma girl like a badass. So that worries me. Although I'm hoping the Paul Rudd character has a big role, the teacher character. I'm hoping he's like one of the main parts of the movie. I hope it'll be good to make us a little cynical about when we watch it. I'm not cynical. I mean, Jason Reitman's doing it. He is Ivan's son. Dan Aykroyd's involved. So if the people who mess it up, it's a lot of people who worked on the original Ghostbusters. You know, So that's the big difference here as opposed to the Paul Feig one. I mean, it's in the Reitman family and Dan Aykroyd's involved, and Dan Aykroyd wrote Ghostbusters. So if it's good or bad, I'm less pissed off about it because I feel like this has a little bit more integrity and honesty to it as opposed to that other one, which did feel cynical or like odd that they picked these group of people and they were all such assholes about it. I haven't been getting any kind of negative vibes from Ghostbusters Afterlife. Nobody's come out and talked about how they need it to be woke. The filmmakers haven't said anything shitty. I have yet to see anything that screams of like, you know, I so far it's just like seems like they're just trying to make a movie, and if it's not good, I don't think it's going to be that upsetting. I hope it's good, but if it's not good, I'm not like I don't think it's going to have that emotional aspect to it. I mean, Bill Murray in Zombieland, Bill Murray in the first Zombieland movie. Yeah, just Bill Murray. God, if you could just get Bill Murray in anything doing comedy. Yeah, I hope it's good so I could feel less cynical too, but the only thing that taints it is that it's coming out after they did that reboot a few years ago, so I think a lot of people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is Ghostbusters?" I think if that movie hadn't happened, I think if that movie had never been made, the Paul Feig Busters, and we were in this year now and they were coming out with Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think the hype would be so much more because we'd all be like, holy shit, there hasn't been a Ghostbusters movie since 2. I also hope they go more in the direction of like the animated show, which is still kind of my favorite Ghostbusters thing, is the show from the 80s. I love that show. And I think that actually showed the potential of the franchise, not just being limited to like this kind of one movie that was really good. Yeah, Suicide Squad's good, if Ghostbusters is good, if Dune's good, if the new James Bond movie's good. You know, if we get a few good movies this year. Yeah, no, I understood. I got what you were saying. Yeah, Bill Murray and Zombieland. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, even if he's in this movie for like 5 minutes, but he's playing Peter Venkman and he's funny, if he actually gave a shit. I love him in that interview where he's like, I just thought these girls were funny for the 2016 one. It is funny. That kind of launched the whole channel was when I started talking about Ghostbusters. So it's weird that we're here like 5 years later and I'm going to be talking about I'm talking about Ghostbusters again. Maybe I'll pull out the old patriarchy mask. I do like crab, yes. Yes, I do. Quite a big fan of it. I like a lot of seafood. You guys, what do you guys think of this box office? Anything stand out to you guys in particular? You seen anything unique? This channel is so underrated in my opinion. Well, thank you, Zool. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I just don't make enough content, man. I take breaks. I go on hiatuses. You know, I think if I consistently was talking about new trailers and box office and new shows and movies, I probably would be doing okay. I just don't I don't review new movies. I just do old video essays or like you know, if I talked if I think if it was more stuff like this, like, hey, a new movie came out, if it did this, I think probably more people would watch, but it's whatever. I'm gonna try to do more stuff like that, but in a more fun way than just doing kind of like generic, like 5 minute talking videos saying what everyone else is saying. I hate that shit. I can't do it. There was rumors that like Sony was legally making the actors be in the movie or they were gonna get sued, but I don't know if that was true. This is really one of the best movie channels on YouTube with the best community. That's the only reason I keep doing it, is the community is great. You guys are really great. You guys are like this is definitely one of my favorite like the way that I love Red Letter Media's community or some other channels communities. You guys are a really fun community. Like you guys know a lot about movies. You guys are all really nice for the most part. We have a lot of nice people and fun people. Yeah, no, the $18 million budget's really good. Oh, well, yeah, I'd be happy if I talked about old movies. I mean, that's typically what I do. I don't know. I make this mistake where I always rebrand too much. Like when I did the Halloween Rewind, then I did 70s Rewind. I go, okay, this is the channel now. I'm gonna pick a thing and do like 5, 6 videos in the Rewind series. And I had a lot of fun doing Halloween Rewind, and I loved 70s Rewind. I think that's some of the best stuff I've ever made. Then I didn't pick the next thing. I didn't do like comic book rewind, 90s rewind. I didn't do another rewind. I just stopped because it's like it's these long series. It's a lot of work. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do like a box office addict, underrated classic sort of thing for like a month. And I did that for like a month and a half. Then we did Please Run Live for a while. So that's a problem. I mean, that's what I kind of like about this channel. It has a lot of variety. You could come one month and I'm doing streams, or another month and it's short videos or video essays. I think like every month is different. It keeps changing. It's not one thing, but that also hurts your channel big time is when you don't make consistently the same kind of content, because at least then people would go, okay, that's what this channel is. It's hard to sell a channel or what your gimmick is. If somebody came here and looked at the channel and they looked at my thumbnails and looked at the titles, they'd be like, what is this? What is Please Rewind? Like what kind of, okay, you made a video on this, but then there's this video and do they look different? Typically a way to really have success in any kind of medium is to have some kind of format consistency. This is the format of what I do here. And that way people, at least when they come to you, they kind of know the gimmick of what your content is or what you are as a creator, and they keep coming back to watch your stuff. When it's just you doing kind of whatever you want, it's harder to retain a new audience. I would love to see you on the Sardonicast podcast. Is there any way that could happen? I have no interest of going on Sardonicast, and I don't think there's any way that that's ever going to happen. I don't think they would ever invite me on there. Ever. I don't think any of them know who I am, and I don't think that's going to happen, and I wouldn't go on there if I was asked. We gotta find Nev Campbell. That's funny. I'm gonna do more stuff like this, where I'm just like talking to you guys, and we can talk about whatever. This is my plan as of right now. I'm still gonna make videos, like content videos, right? Edit, make stuff. But for the most part, I want to do like more like community engagement. We build up the Discord server. We have a lot of fun going on in there, and we just kind of have that, like, we just build a community, and it's not all about me. It's like other people get to come in and talk and do stuff too, so we can all hang out and have fun. Yeah, I have seen Be Crying to Rewind. I have seen her channel, because unfortunately, every time I have to look up something on my channel, her channel comes up because she has like 200,000 subscribers. But from what I saw, yeah, it's like she does like feminist takes, political takes, research takes on the Oscars, which I like the idea of that, like doing Oscar breakdowns and historical breakdowns on the Academy Awards through the years, or certain things through movies. That's something I'd be very into. But from what it did always seem like kind of had Lindsay Ellis vibes. Attest you're not being rude to people in the chat. Oh, you probably mean at least, right? I'm assuming. Everyone says Pig is good. I've been after 60, 80 genre films, a very wacky peer between the magic sword and sorcerers. Knowing is half the battle. TL, the great TL. I am interested in seeing Pig. I miss the patriarchy. Bring it back. I'm sorry, Gay MGTOW. I apologize. I'll start a separate channel just for you where I'm naked and I do patriarchy videos. So that's what you want. I know that's what you want, you dirty bastard. Yeah, but I would watch Pig. I'd watch Pig, guys. That isn't even rude to me, and I'm a Last Jedi shill. Well, to be fair, it's hard to be. I mean, you basically lost that war, right? I mean, I feel bad for people that were Last Jedi fans. I'm really not mad, like, because Rise of the Skywalker happened. You know, it disappointed critically and financially, and then everybody tag teamed on it, and it really hurt as a follow up to Last Jedi. And now Abrams has come out and said we should have had a plan, and the Star Wars singles are kind of like a joke now. So I feel like the whole Last Jedi debate, like if you're a fan of that movie, that's cool, but like, yeah, like the war was lost. The people who loved the sequel trilogy, they lost that battle as it continued. And as the years have gone on, I don't think people have been kind to those sequels, and I don't think that's going to flip around. It might get to some point in like 20 years where people are talking about like them being underrated or something like that. It's like the Snyder fans, they're at a pretty good spot right now. Justice League happened. He's working at Netflix. Okay, the Snyder fans kind of won. It's kind of hard to crap on them. Like, you can say what you want, but he sort of won. Ryan Johnson won in that he has the Knives Out series and all that stuff. But as far as like Star Wars Disney fans, like, yeah, that didn't work out well for them. That ended up looking really bad. So they had a couple years there, but I mean, Solo bombed, Rise of the Skywalker's disappointment. They really don't have a lot going for them, except like Baby Yoda was a big deal for like a while. But even that seems to be kind of dying off. That's just the internet, man. People are just assholes on the internet sometimes because they can. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of how it is. I wish it wasn't that way, but welcome to the internet. I talk to Dan more. I don't notice any movie as canon except Force Awakens. I don't think that trilogy's happening. They keep saying every month that that trilogy is happening. But I don't see how that's going to happen. Why would they make a Star Wars trilogy with Rian Johnson right now? Maybe before COVID, but are you seriously think they're going to make like $200 million Star Wars movies right now with Rian Johnson? No way. No fucking way. Of course he ditched that. He's working on the Knives Out sequels right now, and he got a $400 million deal with Netflix. Why would he make Star Wars movies? Especially Knives Out got him an Oscar nomination and was like acclaimed. And Force Awakens was like the most divisive movie in the last several years. Why the fuck would he go back to Star Wars? There's really not much benefit for him going back to making Star Wars movies when he can just like do a deal with these streaming services and make these like movies now and make millions off that. Why would he go work for Disney and make Star Wars movies? Sort of like James Gunn right now. I mean, I get that he can go back and work for both, but if I was him, I'd be like, fuck it, go to DC and be like, let me make these R-rated movies all I want, you know? Like why go be held hostage by Disney? Disney's a good place to get you to a new place in your career. But I feel more like Rian Johnson used Star Wars as a way to get his career where he could make Knives Out and have more notoriety and then be at the place where he's at now. And I'm not saying he used it in like a malicious way. I just think it was very deliberate. Like I even think there's part of me that thinks he made it the way he did to be divisive to get so much press that he could get where he's at. But I think he more used it as a launching pad to get his career where it's at right now. Um, and I think that's how a lot of people use Disney or these franchises. They're using them because they're trying to get to that point where they can get that deal or get something going somewhere else, and then that'll lead to something. Dan Trachtenberg, is he making a movie? I hope Dan Trachtenberg's making. He was gonna make Uncharted for a while, but I don't think he's making that anymore. I'm happy if Dan Trachtenberg's. No, you're probably thinking of Matt Shackman. Matt Shackman's making a movie. Because then he went to go work on WandaVision. He did all that, and they gave him a movie deal. What movie did he get? Matt Shackman just got a... Oh, Star Trek. They just gave Matt Shackman Star Trek. I liked him from The Boys. Although he's most known from, like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Game of Thrones. He's doing the fourth Star Trek movie in the Kelvin universe. I don't know. I'm sure Disney's rethinking maybe that Fox deal now just because of what happened, but... Yeah, Steven Soderbergh seems like he's just going to work with HBO from now on. Do movies there. Or like Fincher on Netflix. That's the thing, a lot of these big directors are just going to a streaming service and making all their stuff there. And I don't know if some of them are going to come back. You know, it feels like they're all just going to stay on these streaming platforms because they're getting paid pretty good to do that. Like, let's say you're a director and you have 5 movies you want to make. And some streaming service signs a deal with you where they're like, hey, we'll let you make like 5 movies here and we'll pay you like $100 million. Not you directly, but we'll give you this big budget and we'll pay you a lot of money. I think that, I mean, because Spielberg and Amblin, they just made that deal with Netflix, and he used to shit on Netflix, saying that they shouldn't be nominated for Oscars. So I feel like a lot of these directors are just accepting, like, okay, I got to go to a streaming service to get my stuff made. And they don't really care if their movie comes out in theaters. You know? Like Tarantino, in the next few years, if he makes another movie, it wouldn't shock me if he signed some kind of deal with, like, HBO or something like that. Or Netflix, if he did, like, a mini series or something like that. I will say to your opinion on Netflix ruining directors, no Baumbach thrived on Netflix. I think he only thrived on there because his movies weren't making any money. I think those movies he made that were good, like the Mowat stories or whatever, and Marriage Story. I think those probably were going to be good anyway. I think that was just Noah Baumbach making a comeback anyway. I don't think it had anything to do with Netflix. I think he just bounced back as a filmmaker after making a couple duds. I don't care. It's like a foreign remake of Memento. Who gives a shit? Yeah, apparently Star Trek 4 is still happening. Matt Shackman just got hired for the job recently. That was a big story that they hired him to do the new Star Trek. Because I thought it was canceled too. No, I get what you're saying. I'm saying that there's like a quality drop when people go to Netflix, which I do feel. But yeah, Noah Baumbach didn't suffer from that. You're right on that point for sure. His stuff, he made the best movies he's made in a long time at Netflix. Although I always kind of liked Noah Baumbach, even like when he made bad stuff, I've always sort of just liked him. I know Tarantino loves theaters. I just don't like. Is he gonna get? Is he gonna be able to get $100 million movie made again, like with Brad Pitt and stuff? That gets really. I don't know. Like, are they gonna produce a Tarantino movie right now? Unless he does, because in 5 years from now, where the fuck are theaters gonna be? Yeah, like Christopher Nolan. Is somebody gonna give him a big budget movie to make at theaters in the next couple of years? I mean, Tenet was a bomb, straight up. And like, is he going to be able to make a $200 million movie in the next few years? I mean, if like I said, if they make lower budget films, I could see that. But I don't know. Those guys make big movies, and they get to make big movies because their movies always make money. Yeah, Tarantino does seem retired the way he's talking about this book, and when I see him in all these interviews, and he says he has like 2 plays that he wrote in Israel, I feel like he has no interest in making a movie right now. Because he said when he makes his 10th movie, it'll be more of an epilogue. He said Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was like the big epic finale. And then he said if he makes a final film, it's probably going to be more of like an epilogue to the career as opposed to like he's going to make another big movie. So I don't know what's he going to do. I would love if he went back though and made like another Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown kind of movie. If he went and made like a low budget modern day crime film, like if he did that again, if he went back to the beginning of his career to wrap it up, I would fucking love that. That's exactly the kind of movie I would like Quentin Tarantino to make. Oh yeah, Christopher Nolan's not making a movie that isn't like a big movie. The thing is, I think Christopher Nolan could do a really fun like miniseries TV series on a streaming service, or he could do like a. I would like to see Christopher Nolan do something kind of new narratively. Like some of the stuff of his that hasn't worked in recent years, like you know, some of that stuff I think would have worked better in a different kind of format. All right, guys, well, we got the box office covered. I feel like we got a pretty good talk in there. I might do a video here on Ghostbusters soon, Afterlife, and we can talk about the trailer. And maybe I should start doing longer live streams, where I cover a lot of things, and then I could take parts out of those live streams and upload those as separate videos. I know I've seen that before, where like you do a stream, and in that stream, like you watch a trailer, you do a box office breakdown, you read an article on something, and you talk about something, and then you just kind of separate it into like 3 or 4 separate videos. So people who just want to watch that 5-10 minutes you're talking about, they'll watch it because they don't want to watch a full live stream. So maybe I'll start doing something like that in the near future. I don't know. Depends. But yeah, Nolan definitely fucked some stuff up when he made Tenet. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Box Office Addict. I appreciate it. Story of the week: Snake Eyes a disaster. Old did shockingly well. You can't hold M Night down. Um, and all the other films, the big franchise films, are having steep drops. We will see how things turn. Maybe things will change with Suicide Squad this week. Maybe the Suicide Squad with the positive reviews will have a good opening weekend and actually be the first film to get really good word of mouth. Who knows? So it's up to James Gunn right now. We've passed the torch on to James Gunn. But I will see you guys soon. We'll be talking about Suicide Squad here soon. Probably be doing a Please Rewind live on that. Talk about it with everyone if people can catch it. We'll do some box office breakdown, and hopefully if we get some more stuff here soon on Spider-Man or like James Bond or something, we can talk about that. But currently, right now, I think Suicide Squad's kind of the big thing to talk about right now and see how that performs. So, because it's definitely getting better reviews than a lot of these other films that have come out recently, and I do think audiences are going to like it more. So, if that film does well, that makes a good argument for maybe it was the quality of these movies that was keeping them from performing so well. Whereas if everybody loves the Suicide Squad, maybe that'll do better. I don't know. Interesting thing to think about.